Hey everybody, welcome to Autodesk's The Area. My name's Mark Shonigal, and I of course write the Planet Softimage blog here on the area. And I should actually say welcome to my living room because that's where we're at right now. We're looking at my projection screen that I have. I normally have my race seat in front of it, and I play a lot of racing on here. But now I'm doing motion capture. I've actually just moved my couch out of the way, and I've installed the little $150 Microsoft Kinect for the Xbox 360. And there's this brilliant new driver out there that some guys in Italy wrote that's like an instant motion capture input for ice, actually, for Softimage ice. Watch, I'm just going to show you. Watch this. You put your hands like this, and you get this little wireframe that just appeared right there. And now watch. If I start moving, it's completely and nicely. I'm definitely not a dancer, but I can spin around. I can do all sorts of goodness. But what's really amazing here is I got my little handy wireless keyboard and I'm on my wireless headset because I'm kind of a one-man machine. But check that out. That's the skeleton. That's me actually talking right now. I'm like punching. I can uppercut and I can kick and stretch and I can jump like that. And I'll see if we actually saw me doing some of this stuff. That's why we're in full screen Softimage mode, because see, I could be Italian, like talk with all sorts of Anyway, this is 150 bucks. It took me like 2 minutes to set this plug-in up. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Before I do that, just to mention, we've got some really cool things to show in this video. I've got some great customer material from PsyOp that I'm going to be showing. I got an awesome piece by La4Me. Going to dissect that for you. I got all sorts of stuff to show. Some new features, of course. All the new features for the Subscription Advantage Pack are also going to be in this video. So stick around. I'm going to walk over to my desk and show you how we actually set this whole Kinect thing up, because it's really simple and definitely a lot of fun. So hang tight. All right, so I'm back at my desk, and let me show you how we hook up the Kinect to Softimage. So, of course, you'll need some software. So get that by going to kinemocap.com. They're based in Italy. It's going to cost you 99 euros to get the driver, but it's well worth it. Super easy to set up. So once you get the software, it's just going to be a zip. Go ahead and open that up. There's going to be a plugin and a DLL to install into whatever build of Softimage you're using. A couple drivers for the Kinect. You'll definitely want to use the drivers they provide, not ones that you may have downloaded from the internet, and a couple other utilities. One of those utilities is the Kinect mocap standalone. So once that's set up, just go ahead and double click it. You'll need to have a license file, which you'll get once you send them some money. And that's going to launch that utility that we saw a second ago. So I'm going to go back here in front of the Kinect and just make sure this is working. So you get your hands in the right pose again. And as soon as you see that yellow skeleton appear, you know everything's good. So that's great. That lets you know your drivers are installed right, everything's working, everything's talking. So let's now go into Softimage. Now there's no actual scene to load up, so you're going to have to build, you're going to have to use a synoptic page, which actually they give you. So press 8 to bring up the Explorer, select the scene route, and then just go Model or Animate any one of these windows or pull downs and go to Property, Synoptic. And now if you're unfamiliar with the Synoptic view is actually an HTML, it's an HTML page I guess an HTML page that you can create with hotspots or various other types of controllers. Let me just show you this one. You can see it's kinepanel.htm, and this is actually given to you by the company, so you don't have to worry about this. Go kinemocap, just give that a name. And now if I press F3 with the scene route selected, it's going to pop the synoptic view up. So again, as long as the synoptic property is on there, it's attached to the scene route, select it, press F3, that brings up the control panel for the kinemocap tool. Now, there's actually not a lot of tools here. The first thing you'll want to do is load the position plugin, the plot position plugin. I've already done that, so I'm going to get an error message when I do that, tell me it's already loaded. Then we're going to want to create a skeleton. So go to skeleton tree create, and this is going to run a script. And this is going to create a bunch of different ice nodes. It's going to create the skeleton for you. This really sets up everything you need to envelope to or to plot on using Motor or something like that to turn this into a different skeleton if you want to retarget this. But essentially, it's only going to create what appears to be one cube, but there's actually quite a few cubes just stacked on top of one another. And this is going to become your skeleton once it starts talking to the driver. Okay, so, do a couple more things. We want to increase the frame rate or the frame here to say 1,000, just so we have a few more frames to work with. And if you're actually going to do a take, you want to do a recording, you're going to have to enable plot position here. And what that'll do, if you take a look at the kinemocap custom property page, it's going to turn this checkbox on. So you can do that yourself just by clicking here, or click enable plot position, and that actually basically sets this thing up to record. So we're going to go full screen, give myself a little more real estate, press play. I'm going to get up, walk back over to my mocap stage, and as soon as it gets a connection, so I'm going to put my hands up now, and as soon as it gets the connection to the Connect, there you go. Look at that. I've now got a nice live connection, and it's recording all of this stuff. So I can do a little bit of fighting because, you know, I'm good at that, and I can kick because I'm a super good kicker, and I can punch some more, and people are probably laughing at home, just happy that they're not actually seeing me do this. All right, that's enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. All right, so I've left the stage, and I'm now back at my desk. We're going to stop the playback or the capture, and then you're just going to want to hit the disable mocap button. And if we do that correctly, I'm sorry, hit the disable plot position to get rid of that checkbox there under plot, disable mocap, and now check it out. There is all of our mocap nicely applied to our character. I mean, how easy and cool is that? It's obviously going ridiculously fast, so put this into real-time mode, and there you go. All that stuff nicely recorded, just the way I was working. If you select all these, press the 0 key. There's all your F-curves for those. Those can easily be put on onto the animation mixer. You can smooth those out. Hopefully by the time the show is over, I'll have a cool enveloped character onto this guy. Like I said, I've only had this plug-in for about a day, but it is it's very, very cool. So hats off to the guys at Kinemocap. Brilliant job. So yeah, that's one of the first things I'm going to show. Now let's let's take a look at some of the new features that we're going to find inside the new version of Softimage. So we'll take a look at that next. All right, thanks Virtual Mark. So yeah, here we are inside of the latest and greatest development release of Softimage. This is actually codename Minu, but this is Softimage 2012 Subscription Advantage Pack, which is of course the release that goes out to all of our customers under support. And in this release, we focused on a lot of new modeling tools, some new selection tools. We integrated bullet physics and a number of other little small workflow enhancers. So let me try to show you some of those. I'm going to start off with modeling and some of the new selection tools. For those of you watching live on the area, here we go. Let's take a look at some of those tools that were shown off here at the show. So to start, I mentioned selection tools, just some things to make your life easier. So if you're looking to select a row of loops, a row of edge loops or polygon loops, you just simply go into polygon mode by pressing the U key, select your first polygon, and then just a second polygon to give it a direction. But make sure you hold down Shift and then just double click. Click, click, and there you go. You want to select some going this way, select the first one, double click the second one, and as long as you hold down Shift, it's going to always add to your selection. So there you go. So you can do this as much as you want. When we're talking about edge loops, it's a little different. So go into edge mode by just pressing the I key, and now all you have to do is just double click on any edge loop and it will select it. If you hold down the Shift key, just like before, it's going to add to your selection. So now you can select multiple loops if you'd like, something like this. There you go. So yeah, some of the neat new little selection bits there. We can also, here, if I come over here to this object, we've got a new polygon island selection shortcut. So you can see this is an object made up of 2 polygon islands. So if you just simply double click on the object, it'll select just the polygon island. So again, this is one object, but made of 2 separate islands. So let's see, some other cool tools. Let's go and just knock a hole in the boat, and I'll show you another neat little selection tool. If I select an edge, so you can pre-select, say, this edge right here, or any edge on this surface of this blue area, if I go into the selection button, you can see we have a new select loops menu. A couple of the commands have been moved into this, but we also have new loops from selection around corners. So if I click on that, you can see what that does, just like so. We also have the ability to grow loops, things like that too in that menu. Also here, let me show you another modeling tool, which is the capping tool. You can see, of course, I have a hole here. So I'm going to go ahead and cap that. And to do that, I'm going to go into my Modify, Polymesh, Cap Hole. And now it's asking me to pick the geometry. So pick the geometry. And now it's asking me to pick a single vertice that's making up any of the vertices that's exposed by this cap. Hope that makes sense. Basically, any vertice that's connected by this blue line, if I click on any one of those, it's going to cap that hole. And it's also going to pop this operator on, which is the capping operator. Now, what's nice about this operator is you can see it's got a vertex index. So if you happen to misclick, which is kind of unlikely, but you're just clicking one on the border there. But if you wanted to assign this to, say, a different polygon or different hole in your surface, it's actually pretty simple to do that. So if I just reselect my object, every polygon, every vertex in Softimage has an index, and you can see that index when you select it right there. If you select multiple indexes, it puts a comma between them. But I'm just interested in knowing, any one of these numbers, because this is an open surface, the top of the boat here. So watch this. With this point selected, that's point number 432. I'm going to replace 235, and 235 was, I think, this point here that I selected. So watch this. If I just reselect that, you don't need it selected, but I just want to get that reference number. Let's type in 456, press enter, and hey, check it out. The cap went away from here, and I've now capped the surface of the boat. I can undo that, or I can retype in that value, 235, and I get the hole right back where it was. So very flexible tool with the new capping tool. Here's another great one that I think a lot of you are going to like. So I'm going to select an edge loop here, or a polygon loop. Again, just select the first polygon, double click the second one, and get the direction that you want to select the loop in. I'll select this one as well, and check this out. I'm going to right click, extrude along normal. Finally, check this out. Finally, a nice extrude along normal tool. So there we go. I know a lot of you have been asking for that, so here it is. This will perfectly extrude those just along their normals like that. And of course, like any tool, we do a good job with it. So here we've added some additional functionality, like the ability to control the subdivisions, to change the inset amount if you'd like, and things like that. All right, so let's go ahead and close that guy up. What else can I show you in here? Oh, here's another interesting tool. It's the cut tool. So I'm going to go polygon mesh, and it's a different cut tool than we had before. This is apply slice between two vertices. So I'm going to pick, say, a vertex here and a vertex there. And this actually applies an ice tool, but it gives us this up vector right there. And if I actually grab this and move it around, it's a very interesting interactive cutting tool that'll allow you to more than just use a reference plane. It actually allows you to use this up vector as your slice reference. Another cool tool with loops is just the ability to smooth them in between your edges. So for instance, here you can see I've got a pretty angular piece of geometry. I'd like that to be a little bit more curved. I could obviously subdivide the entire mesh, or what you can do is use the polymesh apply smooth edge loop tool, and what that'll allow you to do is smoothly insert a nice edge loop and actually have full control over where you place that. So you can see the geometry here at the top is actually curving a bit, so that it matches the curvature of the rest of this polygon. If I were to right click with this tool activated, I can uncheck the preserve mesh curvature checkbox, and now you can see I'm going to add that edge without affecting the curvature at all, which was more like we had traditionally. So again, right click, turn that on. You can see that all the edges are moving to give me a nice curved smooth edge there. So that's pretty nifty. And one thing I should really point out with most of these tools that I've shown you today is if I go into my ice module and fire up my ice layout, if I take a look at some of the operators that I've applied on here, let's take a look at, like, for instance, the cap tool. If I refresh my ice tree, hey, check that out. The cap tool is a group of ice compounds. It is 100% made using ice modeling, which we came out with Softimage 2012. So we're actually literally putting our money where our mouth is, and I don't know how literal that is, but anyway, we're actually developing our own tools using our own technology. So rather than write this stuff with C++, we're writing this with ice to get the maximum performance from Soft. And there's lots of these tools are created through by using ice. And often that's completely transparent to the user. So, if we take a look at another tool, another one of the new tools, let's take this guy here, and I mentioned the polygon selection. So I'm just going to actually separate these two objects, just do a polymesh, extract polygons, delete. And now that I've got these two separate objects, I'm going to add a new thickness operator. So with these two selected, we'll go polymesh and apply thickness. Let that apply. And what's cool here is, if I refresh my ice tree, the apply thickness node is, it's been applied just with the exact same workflow that we're used to, except this is actually an ice node, just like some of the other tools I've shown you. So now I can change the thickness, which is actually kind of difficult to do before because we're within Soft at least. So we're actually making this object more thick or less thick You can actually put a negative number in here if you want, and now you can get kind of the reverse. I could give it some nice smooth windows if I'd like. But really, what's the most important thing is that this is an ice node. You can dive into it. You can see exactly what our engineers were doing to create this tool. And this is nothing that, a good TD, a programmer, couldn't do themselves. Just string a few nodes together and you get yourselves a brand new modeling tool using these tools that we've provided for you. And it's like that for all the ice modeling tools. Everything that we've seen pretty much as far as the modeling tools go are ice compounds. You can dive in there, see exactly what's making them work. Here's the apply slice between two vertices. So you want to see what's going on there, do a refresh, and you can dive into these. A lot of these are compounds that you can further dive into. There's comments in here so you can see what's going on. But very, very powerful tools within ice modeling, all with this new release. A few other nifty things to show you. I've got some new primitives, which I've gone ahead and added to this scene. It's kind of like a Jurassic jungle. We've got a dog, and I guess we've had those guys, but a fish, a cow, this huge lizard, which could just trample just about everything on here. I don't think they could even eat that fish. The horse, which just as big as the lizard, and then we got this big old T-Rex. So just some nice new primitives for you to mess around with. Also, another great tool is, check this out. Notice that if I put my mouse there and I roll the scrolly wheel, which you can't see me doing because you're not looking at my mouse, but wherever I put my mouse, I'm now able to zoom in on. Isn't that cool? Whether I use the scrolly wheel or the Z key. And that's actually a new preference that we have. So if you go into File, Preferences, under Tools, Camera, you'll find Mouse Wheel and Pan Zoom. These are off by default, so turn those on, and once you do, wherever your mouse is pointed, that's where you're going to zoom. I especially like it on the rolly wheel on the mouse. It's a great little thing there. And the last thing I want to show you, which this model reminds me of, is we finally have another tool that I know a lot of you have been looking for, which is you can select any edge now, and by pressing Control and the slash key, you can actually rotate that. And this too is an operator, so you can go and you can see it as a spin operator. You can modify the index if you like so. It's also available from a drop-down menu, which is the spin edge right there, and there it shows you the hotkey. So just a few of the new features we have for this release. I'll show you bullet physics in just a little while, but first let me show you another nice little customer piece that I'll be showing here at the show. All right, so this is pretty sweet. We always have customers doing amazing work, and this year I actually have a bunch of it to show off, actual nice scene files. The guys at La Fourmi gave me just an incredible commercial, just pretty much every asset for this great Subaru commercial. You may have seen it. I think it only aired in Europe, but it was basically a traveling through a city made up entirely of car parts, and here is like an effect shot where all these pistons were simulating dandelions being blown, and just awesome. I'm stepping through this just so we make sure we see every frame. I'm actually going to go and show you the whole spot, and then we'll take a look at some of the different scenes that made this shot up. So how cool of a spot was that? I think every time I see that, I find something new that I like. So watch that a few times. I love the bird flying over the water, and the water is like those tiles crashing against the rocks. That's just an awesome ice effect. This here is too. I wish the frame rate didn't get really hampered when we have so many objects on the screen when recording videos. I think whatever the software is doing to capture this gets really sluggish, but this is cached, so I actually get a pretty good frame rate when I play this back. But this is all an ice effect. If I go here and just go to my ice view, you can see it's a pretty sophisticated tree that's creating that effect. But there's a lot of stuff going on. You get this initial wiggling, and then you get the gust of wind that blows the dandelion bits away, and then all those pistons flutter away. And they've got kind of a nice motion too. If you saw that in the commercial when it was actually rendered, all rendered in Arnold, by the way. I'll be showing that in the show floor. So if you stop by, I'm not gonna be able to go through these trees too much right now in this video, but you can see lots of cool stuff going on. And if you really break it down into different components, maybe like the wiggling, the blowing away, it can be a lot easier to navigate these ice trees. So in here I can see, because I have my stellar German skills, this is Wackeln vor dem Ablosen und Windkraft, which means, and I didn't even look this up, the wiggling before the blowing away, or before they release, and the wind stuff, just like the wind information. Anyway, that's my exciting German. The guys that laugh for me are probably laughing. Noch ein Bier bitte. Anyway, okay, so hey, that's Windrichtung. That means direction. So yeah, you string some nodes together and you get a great effect. Obviously, some good talent here to do that. But just a great effect. And I've got a bunch of these to show you, so I'm going to show you a couple more here. But let me show you one other thing real quick. Right now, they're all represented by pistons, but that's just a simple geometry switch. So if I go here to the particle display, I could change this to something like cylinder, and now we'll see them as cylinders. And if I easily wanted to select the rest of those, just pick one of those effects in the viewport, change it to cylinder, and that really will lighten the load quite a bit. So generally when you're working with these type of effects, you don't have to have all that crazy high-res stuff on the screen. There's lots of nice things that Softimage can do for you. You'd want to use a cylinder for something like this because it's got kind of a shape and you want to see the orientation and the rotation. Other times you just want to represent it as simple points. You can see the little points right there. You don't need to see them as crazy geometry. So anyway, some optimization things inside of here. They heavily use the pass system for rendering out all the different passes, which again I'll show you more of that at the actual show floor. So let me show you another scene here. Here's another crazy particle shot. This is the waterfall scene against the transmission, or part of the engine block. I think it's the transmission or something like that. But you can see there's just crazy amounts of particles, and we'll get this from another angle in a second. You'll see just how many there are. I think I saw there was like 500,000, but each one of them has real piece of geometry attached to it. If I spin the camera around here a bit, let me get to a user cam. Oh, this is cool. Watch this. If you go to user cam, sometimes you get a scene from a customer and you're like, oh, okay, what's that? That looks like a pretty important part to the scene. Oh yeah, that's something important. What the? Oh wow. Okay, so that little minuscule little, looks like part of the brakes or something. Check that out. And that's the path of that the waterfall goes down. But you notice the waterfall's not there right now. I can turn that on real quick. So if we turn on point clouds, there you should see it. It's a pretty dense waterfall of particles. And that was right at the beginning of the shot as well. And this tree is not quite so complicated. There's not nearly as much logic going on as we had in the dandelion scene. You can see it's much more linear flow. We don't have quite so many branches off of different states or different changes to the particle. So again, another great scene. You can see how complex this one is as far as the geometry and the detail goes. So let me show you another one here. All right, and for the last shot I want to show you in this little teaser video are, geez, look at that, lots of windshield wipers, which combine to form a bird wing and a nice bucket seat for the bird, and hood scoops, or just hoods for the beak. Crazy. Let's take a look at this in the camera view and just look at the shot. So, geez, definitely want to thank the guys a lot for me. Going to show a lot more of these scenes actually on the show floor. We'll show some renderings with Arnold. Take a look at some of those ice trees a little bit more closely. So, to Florian, Sven, Sasha, Josh, everybody else at La For Me, vielen Dank. I really appreciate all your work. They had to go through their content a few times to get me everything. So, anyway, all right, let's take a look at shoot. You know what? Let's look at bullet physics. Let's look at bullet physics now.